Hello, welcome to the Everything Is Black and White podcast. Do hit thumbs up and hit subscribe. Andrew Musgrave here. Hope you guys are all doing well. I'm outside of the Tyneside Irish Centre. Now, if you're not too sure where this is, it's in the shadow there, ladies and gents, of St James's Park. Now, why am I here, you might ask? Well, Wor Flags, the supporters group, have got an exhibition up on the 3rd floor showcasing the great work they've done. Bill Corcoran, who you might know from work with the food bank and here at the Irish Centre, has encouraged the lads and lasses to put on an exhibition showcasing their fantastic work, and they've done that. It's not a big exhibition, 5-10 minutes it'll take you to one room, but there are some fantastic flags on display. It goes through their history. It is well worth your visit if you're a Newcastle United fan. I'll give you a bit of a history lesson. 2017, Wor Flags was established. It was a merger between a couple of fan groups, and from that moment forward they've been a huge asset to Newcastle United. They set the tone for match days with some fantastic displays, very creative, sometimes not all that complicated, simple and effective, like the Chelsea game last season, which was such a huge game. Newcastle ended up winning that game, massive 3 points for Champions League qualification, and the display was just so important to setting that tone, and I think it really helped Newcastle United win that game. And that's what these displays do. They boost the spirits of the Newcastle United players and they rattle the opposition. Now, I could ask you what your favourite Wor Flags display is, and we'd all have different answers. We'd think back to PSG in the Champions League, we'd think back to the Carabao Cup final against Liverpool, think back to that Chelsea game. I could tell you my favourite today and pick a different one tomorrow. That is the beauty of Wor Flags and their creativity, that they are just so good at what they do, and they are, as I say, a massive asset to Newcastle United. But it's not just about Wor Flags. They lay the tools, they do the drawings, they put the flags on the seats, but about you guys as well. Being United, it's Newcastle United after all, and you guys play your part as well. And it's great to see everyone supports Wor Flags, whether it's through monetary donations or simply just picking up a flag and waving it when requested on match days. We're going to hear from David, who is a member of Wor Flags. He's helped put this display together, about why we're here at the Tyneside Irish Centre and why they're showcasing their work. It's open hopefully for the next month, free to attend, well worth the visit. Let's hear from David and have a look at what's on show. Just have you introduce yourself?
I'm David Farrellbanks. I'm one of the volunteers from Wor Flags.
And can you tell us where we are today and why?
We're at the top floor of the Tyneside Irish Centre. The Tyneside Irish Centre, and particularly people involved in it like Bill Corcoran, have been big supporters of Wor Flags since the start, about 9 years ago. And they had an idea that this gallery at the top of the Irish Centre would look pretty good if we filled it with the art of Wor Flags, the stuff that we usually see in the stadium. So that's what we've done. We've filled the space with some of the flags. It's supporters art, isn't it? It captures something of the spirit of Newcastle support, and we've got a small exhibition alongside it as well, a little bit of a story of the last 9 years of the Wor Flags existence.
And how long will the display be going on for?
It's going to be up for at least the next month, and it should be open Mondays to Fridays, at least from 1 to 4 p.m. And we'll be looking at how we can have the space open as well in the evenings sometimes. So if you keep an eye on our social media, things like that, you'll see.
And for you guys, how much of a privilege is it to be such a big part of the club and setting the tone when it comes to those atmospheres?
It's massive. It's a huge privilege and a huge responsibility as well, I think, because we try and it's everything that we do is just done by a group of people putting their own time and their own efforts into trying to make these displays happen. And with each one, what we're often talking about is how we can try and capture something of the spirit or something of the feeling of the fan base going into that match, going into that moment. And if we get that right, then it's a really special feeling, and hopefully we get it right more often than we get it wrong.
And when you hear Eddie Howe talking about Wor Flags, which he does quite often because he's asked about it by the journalists, how does that make you guys feel?
It's unbelievable. We've never kind of gone into doing this specifically to, get the praise of players or managers. We're trying to do something which is always paid for, funded by fans and doing things for fans. But of course, when you hear people like Eddie Howe or Bruno or things like that talking about it maybe giving them a little bit of an extra lift, then of course it feels fantastic.
And I mean, I think the Chelsea game this season was one where the tone was set superbly by the supporters, and that obviously by Wor Flags. Do you have a feeling on the morning, or I suppose when the display goes up, where you think, we've won the first battle here?
I think you can sometimes tell when it captures that, like we're saying, trying to capture the spirit or the eye or some kind of feeling that's already there in amongst all of the fans before we get into the ground. I think that for that Chelsea game, particularly because it was such an early kickoff, 12 o'clock on a Sunday, I think it made everybody feel like you just had to be that little bit louder, that little bit noisier, that we had to make it happen a little bit more than if it was at a traditional kickoff time. I think it kind of riled people up even more than it would have been already. So it was, moments like that are exceptional. I always think back to the PSG game as well in the Champions League as one of those that just took your breath away.
And what do you say to the fans who have donated and the fans who, of course, just hold the flags on a game?
Well, that's as much a part of everything we do as anybody else, I think, because, like I say, everything is funded for, everything is paid for by those fans, and if there wasn't for that support, then it would obviously be none of this stuff would ever happen. And the fact that we've been able to keep doing more and more, and with the sort of displays that we've put together have been getting bigger and bigger, that's entirely through the support of just other Newcastle fans like us. It's an amazing thing.
There's loads of displays on display here. Have you got a particular one of all of them that you like the most?
I think the one that still I love everything about it is the banner from a few years ago, which is where there is unity, there is always victory. And the fact that it just fits almost perfectly in this space. It's become the wallpaper, the backdrop of this whole display. It took a little bit of effort getting it up, but it's getting it hooked onto the walls in here, but I think it looks absolutely incredible.
And just behind you we've got the Champions League logo there on a flag. I think we all remember one of your colleagues flying that a couple of seasons back. What a season Newcastle have had to be back in the Champions League, and in the background we've got Ando and Razor there, the Wembley commentary where they've lifted the Carabao Cup, and what a season.
Well, I think it's just exceeded everybody's expectations, and we're back in the Champions League. I think this is a new one that was printed again by that same Graham, who will be known to a lot of people who know what Wor Flags do. And we've got one of the versions of the flag that was up at Wembley as well before that cup win on the walls as well. So it hopefully tells the story a little bit of this an absolutely amazing season.